Hello, Monotone Maiden. Nice to have you on with us. Okay. Hmm. Have you gone on, Leslie, on your Facebook?
Yes.
I
Am I
don't
not
got-
showing up?
No, I got last week's.
Let me double check. Yeah, because nobody's on there, but I thought I had. No, I'm showing up on my Facebook. Am I on the page instead of the?
I think so.
Oh. I thought I went into the group. No, I'm on the page. Okay. I'm going to have to stop that. Stop that now. Delete that post. Delete.
Great psychic. Not so good technical people. Okay.
Well, it's because my Facebook page got hacked, and I was fiddling about changing the
I'm going to start recording, Leslie.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they can watch me doing this then. It's nice for everybody.
Oh, well, folks will be with you in a second. We're just getting connected to Facebook here.
So that should come on now on the group. Except it's sideways. Okay, I'm gonna just stop that and get. Okay, I'm just gonna. Do that. Yeah, it's because you can't.
Because you can't.
No, you've got to do it in a certain order, otherwise it goes sideways.
That's right.
So let's see.
We'll be with you in a second, folks, or maybe a few seconds.
Do you know what?
No, I don't.
Sometimes these things happen.
Yeah, it's not like we've done 300 or 400 shows. I haven't started recording yet, so.
Oh, good. I thought you had.
Just about to.
Okay, this.
Oh.
This should work. And it should be in the right place now. Let's check.
Nope.
You're still in the wrong place. Okay. I don't understand that because I definitely put it in the group. So let's try again. That's very strange because I know I put it in the group that time. Okay, I'm in the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group.
Yep.
That's
But
exactly
it's
what
it's still sideways though. I tell a joke, but I forgot all my jokes.
Okay. Oops. So that should be in the right place. And it should be in the right orientation.
Just put the plug in backwards. Oh, there you are. Let me just go and start the recording and we'll be ready to go. Say something.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. It's a bit of a schmozzle.
We had an upside down Leslie again.
I know, and now we've got a Leslie with a camera in front of her on Facebook, so I had it perfectly aligned and oh, that's better. There we go. Okay. So, shall we begin? Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth radio show and podcast. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and we broadcast on Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 Pacific time on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. From CIVL, which is based on the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. But we also, as well as it being a radio show, it's a podcast. And the podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms. And we pre-record the show live on a Tuesday night from 7 to 8 as well. And if you want to join the live studio audience, you can just join the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group or follow along on my YouTube channel.
YouTube.
So welcome to the show, everybody. And tonight's show is
We're CIVL. You didn't do any of the CIVL stuff.
I did. I'll do it again if you want to listen to it again. Okay, welcome everybody. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey, which is a radio show about metaphysics and spirituality, which broadcasts live on a Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific time across the Fraser Valley from CIVL on 101.7 FM from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation.
Okay, sounds good now.
but it's also a podcast on all the main podcasting platforms. You can catch the back episodes on drlesliephillips.com. And if you want to join for the live studio audience, you can join the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, or you can follow along on my YouTube channel, because we live stream the show when we pre-record the show in the same time slot, 7 to 8 Pacific time, every Tuesday.
Yes, every Tuesday, almost. But not the next 2 Tuesdays.
So tonight's show is a little bit of a relaxing topic, and it's about questions people ask in psychic readings, which we've sort of done this before when we've talked about, well, what are the most common questions that people ask? And this time I was thinking about it, and I think that there are several categories that people come to a psychic reading that they fall into. Broad sweep categories. And the first one is powerlessness. The second one is curiosity. And the third one is expansion. And so the powerlessness one is when somebody feels powerless, obviously, because their life is not going the way that they would prefer it to be. And so and it seems as though life is happening to them. And it seems as though these outside forces are delivering blows and happenstance experiences, and that they have no say and they're not in charge of their life and what goes on in their life. And so, that can be questions like, well, like, why is this happening? Or why isn't this happening? I want this, why don't I have it? And so it can be questions about relationships. Why don't I have the relationship that I want? Why do I keep creating unhappy relationships? Why did my partner leave me? Do they really love me? Will they come back to me? Or it could be questions about career, as in, why doesn't my boss like me? Will I get that promotion? Why can't I find a job that I love? Why do I have to keep doing these jobs that don't pay me enough money and I really don't like them?
Just as a quick aside before I forget, we have also 300 some odd video answers to questions that listeners have sent in on the website. If you want to go look for any, and they're all done in categories. So, and I just reminded me of that, because one of my favorite unfavorite questions is, why did she leave me, and will they come back? And it's amazing the number of people want to know if they come back. I mean, like, why? If somebody left you, they're gone.
Yeah. So people feel powerless, and other reasons that they feel powerless can just be the tragedy, the chaos that's going on in the world. It can also be to do with their physical body. Why does my body seem to be fighting against me? Why do I have this disease? And they feel powerless, and they feel so powerless that they believe that perhaps somebody else has a magic wand, perhaps somebody else can predict their future, and perhaps somebody else can heal them. So they're powerless, but they also don't have any notion that they are responsible for their own lives. And they don't yet realize that they create their own reality. And probably if you said to them, you created that, they wouldn't understand that, because they might feel like a victim of circumstances. And so a lot of powerless people seek out help from psychic readers and so on. And the best help is to be able to provide information about, what you do, you actually create your reality, and that's not bad news, it's good news. It doesn't mean that you're this evil despot that is punishing yourself. What it means is you just need to tweak some things within yourself in order to change course. But anyway, that's category number one, is someone who feels powerless and comes with lots of questions relating to why their life is the way that it is, why their relationships are the way that they are. The next category, I would say, I would call it curiosity. And that can be the next stage of that, where now I'm seeking to understand these relationships. I'm seeking to understand myself. I'm seeking to understand what I might be doing that might be sabotaging me, or I'm curious, was there a past life that played a part in this? Am I afraid of heights because I fell from a tall building in a past life? Am I stuck in this highly critical relationship because we've been there before in other lifetimes? I'm curious to understand. I seek to understand. I want to know more about this. I want to know why it's happening. And I no longer feel completely disempowered. I want to know, what can I do about it? And so that would be the second category. And where people are starting to have a curiosity and want to know more, want to understand themselves, as opposed to judging people and circumstances, seeking to understand, seeking knowledge and information in order to transcend the feeling of being stuck in a particular circumstance. Well, the other reason that people might come and be curious could be because they've been having their own experiences of a spiritual nature. I had a dream and the dream came true, or I keep seeing repeating numbers everywhere. I feel like the universe is sending me messages, or I know that there's higher guidance. I want to know, I want to connect with my guides. Maybe I saw a ghost. I heard a message. I keep turning on the radio and there's a song playing that has the perfect message for the circumstance that I'm in. So first stage, powerlessness. Second stage, curiosity. Curious to know more, curious to understand, a feeling that there's more to this than meets the eye, a feeling that maybe there is something I can do. And I'm curious to explore myself more deeply. I'm curious to explore my relationships more deeply. And I'm starting to take some responsibility for my life and myself. So I'm wanting to know, what can I do? What can I do to help the situation? Instead of seeing myself as the victim, which is in stage number 1, the powerlessness stage. And then finally, the next stage I've called expansion, where people come because I want to expand, I want to evolve, I want to open to more. I would love you to teach me how I can do that. I would love to develop my own abilities. I would love to learn how to be a healer, learn how to be a reader, learn how to be a medium, learn how to be a channeler, learn how to give past life readings and so on. And I would say over my time of doing this work, the percentage of people I see in those 3 categories has actually shifted quite a lot. So maybe 20 years ago, I would see more people in the powerless category. And today, I see more people in the seeking expansion category. So more in the, there's more to this than meets the eye. And I would like to expand, and I would like to learn, and I would like to develop my own abilities so that I can access my own guidance. So in another way of saying this, in the first stage, the powerlessness stage, there's no notion that I have my own guidance. I just feel like a victim. The second stage, there's an inkling. There's some guidance there for me. I'm starting to pick up on some guidance. And then the third stage is, I know it's true and I want to know more, and I want to develop this, and I want to evolve. So I'm curious for the people who are listening live tonight, if you could ask one question, you only had one question, and you could see the most amazing psychic in the world, what question would you ask? Just one question.
And not the lottery number.
And would it come from a state of feeling powerless about your life? Would it come from a state of being curious about things? Or would it come from a desire to evolve? So where are you at on that spectrum? Are you feeling like a victim? Are you wanting to give your power away to somebody else because you feel powerless? Are you at the stage where, you know, there's something in this, I've had these experiences, I'd like to know more? Or are you at the stage where you know and you want more? So what's your one question, and where is it in the spectrum of powerlessness to curiosity, to seeking to evolve? I'm very curious myself to find out what you would all ask. What would you most want to know? Is it if you're, you know, when will you get a better job, or when will you have a better relationship? Is it, I'm so curious about who's my main spirit guide, or who I was in a past life and how that relates to my current life? Or is it, you know, how can I develop my own gifts? How can I expand and evolve so that I can access my own guidance? Where are you on that spectrum? I'd love to know.
now it's time for a break, Dr. Leslie, and let people think
Yes,
about that for a second.
give you all a chance to write your question. Your one question that you could ask, and who knows, maybe we'll answer it. Welcome back to tonight's edition of Unlocking Your Truth. And tonight we're talking about questions people ask when they go for a psychic reading. And, you know, some people are feeling very powerless about their life. They're feeling overwhelmed with, and that they can't cope. They feel like they have no power. And they want help, but they feel like a victim, and perhaps they want the other person to fix things for them or to tell them something they want to hear so they can feel like my life is going to get better. Or some people are curious because, you know, there's more to life than meets the eye. Yes, I'm a human living a human life, but I also feel like I am more than a human. And I know this because I've had some personal experiences where I sense that there is guidance for me out there, that there is support for me out there, that there is this unseen force that's leaving me messages and trying to help me move forward in my path. Or the final level is, I want to expand. I want to evolve. I want to access my own guidance. Teach me how. So I am curious who we have in the chat room today and where they're at on that scale that we are presenting.
You too, do you?
I do.
Okay, well, I've got some interesting comments that are directed, but there's one from David. He's a newcomer, and I think he wrote his question a little quicker than before you finished your
Sure.
explanation. And he says, "Hi, Dr. Leslie. I'm curious about why I'm different from others. I would like to understand what I am in respect to why I knew about my gender and date of my first child and my second child and the gender of my first grandchild. I can tell when something is about to happen. I'm concerned about what I might be able to do."
Okay. So concerned about what you might be able to do. What was the thing you said just before that? It's quite a long question.
Yeah, but basically what David's saying is that he knew the gender of his first child, second child, and his gender of the first grandchild. And he can tell when something is about to happen. He's concerned about what he might be able to do, like what his power, I presume what his powers are, you know?
Okay, yeah, it was the about to happen thing that I didn't jot down. Well, okay, well, we'll look at that question for you, David. And here's the interesting paradox. So often people with these abilities feel different, feel like an outsider, feel like a black sheep, feel like they don't belong, feel like other people don't understand them. And it's a very genuine feeling and sense to have. However, what I would say is that you are expressing signs of being more connected with who you are as a greater version of yourself. You are let's say an expanded human, a human who is more open to the abilities that all humans have. However, most humans have separated themselves from that larger part. it's funny, when I was talking earlier going to say, well, what percentage of humans do we think are in each of those categories? And I would say at least 80% are in the feeling powerless category, you know, and then maybe 5% are in the expansion category, and then the rest in between. And so I would say you're not different, you're just further along the path in a way of the awakening process that all humans are going through. So we all have the ability to tap in as spirit to spiritual information, which includes the gender of a child before the child is born, which includes the potential to tune in to different probabilities and potential timelines, i.e. what might be about to happen. And so I would just validate that these are expressions of where humanity is evolving. As we open up to more and more of ourselves, we're all going to find that we have these abilities. But you're one of the ones who's chosen to do this a bit sooner than the majority, which makes you feel different. And then the other thing that also very, very common is being afraid of your power. So we talked about powerlessness and feeling powerless. What we didn't talk about is that people are often frightened of their power. So they remain powerless because they're frightened of their power. And it's very common for people to be afraid of their opening to their psychic abilities, because what might I be able to do? What might I see? What might I know? And also, what kind of attention might I get? So we can be afraid of seeing something scary, seeing something frightening, losing touch with reality, being called crazy, standing out even more as being different. And we might be afraid of our power to see things about other people. We might be afraid about what we might see about ourselves. We might be afraid of finding out the truth about things. So there can be so many fears. And yet, I would say there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. And the fear of your psychic abilities is worse, or worse than actually embracing them. And so, rather than be afraid of what you can do, why not be excited about what you might discover, and how you might even be able to take these abilities further? And I wonder, David, when you say you're afraid of what you can do, specifically, what are you afraid of? Sometimes people might have misused their abilities in past lives, because these are, we might call them city powers. They are, you know, to humans who are not expressing these abilities, it's like, oh, wow, that person, they can do this, they can do that. And it is something that can be misused. Let's take that first stage of somebody who feels powerless and comes to a psychic. That psychic could take advantage of that and could manipulate that powerless person to come back again and again and again and again, pay me more money, you know, and it could induce that person to become dependent on them, addicted to them. And so there are ways, or instead of recognizing that everyone has free will, they might tell a powerless person what they should do. And again, that is a way of manipulating someone. So sometimes, you know, because we've all had many, many past lives, we may have had past lives where we have abused our abilities. And we may have had past lives where we've been punished because of our abilities. And not necessarily because we've misused them, but because we frighten other people. So thank you very much for that question, David. And I hope the answer helped you a little bit with that. Helped you feel a bit more comfortable in your own skin, that perhaps you're not that different after all, just maybe a bit more aware than most.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that comes from the world, the world, like even media, and not just media, but mostly the Hollywood media that has all these psychics and doing weird and strange stuff. And
But it's changing, over the years, this is changing. I remember when I was into this stuff and I was still in the corporate world, even to say that you meditated, if you said that you meditated, you were weird. I wouldn't even dare say I meditated, let alone that I did psychic readings 20 years ago, because people didn't even understand meditation. And then from about 10 years ago, meditation is so mainstream. All the main big corporations have advocate all the top executives meditate. It's part of their routine in the morning to make sure that they're set up for the day. And now even the way it's starting to be portrayed in the media in some cases is more educational and more acceptable. So they have that Hollywood medium, I think he's called Tyler, I can't remember his second name. And he goes to famous people's houses and he gives them a reading, and then they're amazed at what he says. That's not treating it completely as a circus act, right? It's actually helping introduce that this is a real thing, because he's actually quite good at what he does, well, very good at what he does. Although it still is making it celebrity, and it still is making it like, well, only certain special people can do it. And I would say we all have these abilities. For some of us, it's not something we would choose to do. There's plenty of people where they have these abilities, but there's no interest. They're interested in something else, and that's fine. But I would say that we all have them, and we all can develop them if we want to.
okay, now for our next question is from Omida, and she says, I'd want to know what my soul's plan was for this lifetime in terms of areas my soul's development and growth. That's a good question.
That is a really good question. That's a really
They're all good questions. That's a good question.
And of course, I would definitely say for a question like that is like, you can meditate that and you can connect with your own higher being and receive information on that for yourself. But we'll take a little look. That said. Well, the first few things that came up was growing in compassion for self and others. Acceptance of self and others. And meaning, like acceptance of others' choices, and where other people's choices lead them. And so quite a bit of it has to do with the opening and balancing of the heart and the aspects of the heart chakra. And I would also say it's very much in tune with the time with which we live, where humanity is evolving from a third density consciousness to a fourth density consciousness. We're moving more towards love and unity than we ever have before. And so your soul's purpose for you is to evolve within those aspects and be a participant and contributor to the evolution of the human species through that which you, or that which you expand within you is expanded within the whole species. And that's true for all of us and what we do. Because we might think of ourselves as separate individuals, but at the same time, we're all in it together. I'll see if there's anything else that wants to come up about that. The recognition of choice. The recognition of choice and the development of the idea of consciously choosing. And along with that comes the idea of responsibility. And also the perspective of how some people are not consciously choosing, they're unconsciously choosing. But that is okay, because that is where they are at. So I would say, meditate it on yourself, Amida, but I think a lot of it is heart-centered.
Okay, well, we've got 1 minute left, so may as well go for a break at this point, Dr. Leslie.
Okay, that sounds good. Ew, I've got something funny on my teacup. Glue.
Thank you for that, Dr. Leslie. And welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone, to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. I forgot what the last word was then. I don't know what I was going to say instead of truth. So we're talking about different types of questions people ask when they come for a psychic reading. And sometimes they come and they're feeling powerless. Sometimes they come and they're feeling curious. And sometimes they come and they're committed to their growth and expansion. And we were inviting our live audience to ask a question so that we can see which one are you in that.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from Waislava, and she says, always on a path of more, never a victim, she says. Who is my best spirit guide since they are changing too?
Oh, I like that question. I'll tell you why I like that question.
Okay.
I like that question because it's an opportunity to teach a little bit about guides. So, yeah, they can change. There are certain ones that we have as a lifetime commitment. There are certain ones that we have as a commitment for many lifetimes. But there are also, we can change our guides as we grow, as we evolve, and then we might outgrow a particular guide. We might go in a different direction than a particular guide, just like happens with people that we're in relationship with. So yes, absolutely, your guides can and do change. And you get the ones that are most committed and relate to and are interested in what your spiritual focus is. So that said, let's have a look at who wants to show up. well, this is a really funny guide, actually. This guide has a great sense of humor, and I feel that this guide is to help you take things lightly, more lightly, less seriously, and this guide, to some degree, I want to say, is a kind of a healing guide, because the humor and the lightness is very, very healing. And this guide looks to me like they help you in your work. So when you're working with other people, that the guide will try to work with the person that you're working with to help lighten things up for them as well. Now, people always want to give the guides a name. And of course, they don't necessarily have a name. They have a vibrational frequency, and they don't necessarily look a particular way. They are energy beings. However, they may project an image to help us connect with them, and they might give a name to help us connect with them. The vibration of this guide that I'm tuning into you is a yellow vibration. And I feel like it is a being that is, you know, I'm going to say that Lao Tzu, I don't, and let me qualify that. This being has a vibration that seems to resonate with Lao Tzu, and maybe related or interconnected with Lao Tzu. And it feels like is wise but humorous, and actually it's showing me another influence, is showing me the idea of the laughing Buddha as well. So it's sort of like evolution through an expansion, but through in the funnest way possible. And how this guide appears, and that the reason I'm saying Lao Tzu, is in that yellow field of energy. They're painting sort of like a line, like a sketch. And so they look like a kind of Asian male impression. Well, it's just an impression. And it's to denote wisdom, sage-like wisdom, and actually some creativity, but especially the biggest quality was the humor. Hope that helps. Thank you for your question.
Yes, thank you. That's a lovely question. Now, next one's from Holly. Holly says, have been in an expansion stage for a long time, but it's all pretty slow, so not sure if I'm stuck or still waiting for something.
Well, that's a very interesting question. It's a very interesting question, and we'll take a look at that because, and of course, you know, in some ways, because things are moving fast on Earth right now. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at why you feel it's happening slow. And maybe type in, Holly, do you have some expectation of how it's supposed to be going? Because sometimes that's what we'll do. We'll put expectations on ourselves, and those expectations get in our way because they're a form of resistance. And then if we're having a form of resistance, then we are stuck. And so it's important to just accept ourselves where we are. But I'll take a look and see if anything else comes up for you. Yes. Yes. So what we're seeing is, it's kind of what I said, but I'll add a bit to it. The ego thinks that expansion is collecting things. So that, and I'll give you some examples. I'm making these up rather than reading them in you, but the ego says, well, yes, I took Reiki training. I'm a Reiki master. Oh, yes. You know, I did body talk. Oh, yes. I went on that tropical retreat and took ayahuasca. Oh, yeah. And or I own, you know, these books and these card decks. And the ego collects these things that we've done and says, well, this is the proof of my, that I'm a spiritual person. And this is the proof of my expansion. And so I'm seeing that you've got two things going on. You've got the genuine expansion and energy flow coming to you. And then you've also got the ego's idea. And so to what I said at the beginning, it's about allowing, receiving, and accepting. And I can see Corey wants to say that you've added something.
Yeah, she says, good question. Just wanting my psychic connections to be more apparent part and a more apparent part of my daily life.
Right, psychic connections to be more apparent. Okay, well, let's look at that idea too. Yeah, and I would say it's what every human deals with, is the out of alignment part of themselves versus the in alignment part of themselves. And so it's like the more that you can allow that flow, and the more that you can release and let go of the noise of the out of alignment ego, then I'm seeing that the easier it is for you to connect with your intuition. And I want to share with you a page on my website to go to. And it's drlesliephillips.com. And when you go there, it is the page that says, it's under the home page, and it says
About Dr. Leslie.
About Dr. Leslie. And halfway down that page is a wheel. And the wheel talks about common intuition blocks. And this is exactly what you're dealing with. This is the answer to your question. Study that wheel, meditate on that wheel. And the more that you can move from the outside of the wheel to the inside of the wheel, the more you will access your intuition. The outside of the wheel is the blocks, and the inside of the wheel is the state of being when we've transcended the blocks. Great. Next question.
And just a quick reminder to folks, if you're enjoying the show, please give us a like. And well, whatever it is on Facebook, I guess. And this is from Shelby. Shelby says, what is my life's purpose? I feel more driven, evolved.
She feels more driven, evolved.
Driven and evolved.
Driven and evolved.
I guess, or feel more driven and evolved.
So that's an interesting question. What is my life's purpose? And I want to reference my book, Intuition and Chakras, as a way of answering this question, because there's a whole chapter on life purpose in that book. And it talks about, well, first of all, we're always, every moment, there's a purpose to every moment that we live. But it talks about three different levels of purpose. One is one that all humans share. Sometimes we call it enlightenment, awakening. It's opening up to more understanding and awareness of who we are, filling ourselves with the light of spirit that we are, and releasing out of alignment energies. So we all share that purpose. And but people, when they ask that question, it is often, what am I meant to be doing with my life? So let's see what comes up for you, Shelby. But again, I would recommend meditating on this yourself, because far be it from another person to tell you what your purpose is. But I will look and see what comes up. Well, you're showing me, the image that you're showing me is interesting. It's like the image of an all-seeing eye, or the capstone of a pyramid. And then you're standing and you're holding your hands like this. And there's energy coming from the capstone into your hands. And you're sort of standing there, either not noticing this, or somehow that energy is not also connecting with your mind. So let's see how we would interpret this picture. Well, what I'm hearing is that one phrase that I just heard was to create outside the box. To create outside the box. And it feels like it is. I'll use a few words to paint the picture, but don't take them literally. Anti-establishment, anti-establishment, or not mainstream, or it's like figuring out new ways to do things that are not lining up with the what do we call it? Often that pyramid represents sort of like the Illuminati, or the powers that be. So it feels like it's creative and it's innovative and it's outside the box, and it's having that edge to be different and not think like everybody else. New ways to do things. New, better ways.
Okay, this is from Brian. Thank you, Dr. Ross. This is from Brian. He says, I would love to know more about myself. What's my purpose? Why I'm here? More about my gifts and abilities. It would come from a place of evolving, moving into that soul plan. So that's the exact response to your question of what he would love to do.
Okay.
Question.
Let's look at Brian.
And that's your last question for tonight, Dr. Leslie.
Okay. I'm just being quiet because I'm taking a moment to look at this, because the first thing that you showed me was like a ruby red energy around you, a ruby red energy. But it was like very specifically around you. And so I'm just looking to see how that lines up with your soul and your plan and purpose for yourself. And the energy feels, it's almost like a kind of infrared infrared type of energy. So one of the things that's coming up to say to you is that you are a grounded presence. And that level of groundedness is, I guess, something not to be underestimated. That you act as an anchor for light, and as a connector in with the earth and the energies of the earth. So it's like a bridge, someone who's really able to anchor light and connecting with the earth's energy as well. And you know, it's funny, it's like, and it's comparing you to sort of like, you know, because some people are quite flighty and light and ungrounded and up here. And it's like I've heard a metaphor before that's often used for couples in relationships where they say, he is like the tree and you are like the bird. You fly off and do your thing, and then you can always come back to this really solid tree. You're like the tree. And there are other people who are more like the birds. So there's like an energetic aspect to you. Hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, I think that's our show for today.
Yes.
And we will be putting out a show next week, but we won't be doing a pre-recording. We won't be doing a pre-recording for the next 2 weeks. But there is on Thursday this week, for those of you who are tuning in live, my third Thursday. It's the third Thursday of the month. And so if you Google Dr. Leslie Phillips' third Thursday, you will get that page where you can sign up to come to that. And that is it's a free event that I do once a month. And we do a little bit of group coaching, a little bit of Q&A about psychic development. And also, if you're curious about any of my psychic development courses, obviously I talk about those a little bit there too. So all of you who are listening and get this message now or in the future, come to the third Thursday.
For the future.
Well, because the third Thursday is an ongoing thing.
Yes. Well, folks, thank you, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much.